Ome mama. Hey, malo. My banda wa jenwele. My banda wa jenwele.
Amai makungwa mwauza amai basikolo tukuti majola wachinya papa ndikunama vipi majola wakuchinyani tu azimai kumeneko achinyamata kuchinyani eti Mbavu! 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 Power to the people! Power! Power! Akuchita una chisungutu. Machiri! Machiri! Your Excellency, Chief Justice Banda retired. Your Honor, Kumbo Kachari, Vice President of the Republic of Malawi. Your Honor, Your Lordship Love Momuno, SC, Chief Justice. Ambassador Jackson. Honorable Professor Peter Mwanza, Minister of Agriculture and Food Security. All Cabinet Ministers and Deputy Ministers. Professor Ben Kalua, Chairperson of the Presidential Initiative on Poverty and Hunger Reduction, and all members of the committee here present. Mr. Bright Msaka, SC, Chief Secretary, and all senior government officials. Honorable Henry Chibwana, Secretary General of the People's Party. All members of the National Executive Committee of the party. Honorable Abubakar Mbaya, our Member of Parliament. Our Paramount Chiefs and all traditional chiefs. Chief Katuli, Mr. Tom Chirwa, District Commissioner. Sheikh Chikoko, Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, allow me to speak in English first. I'm delighted to stand before you today to officially launch the Presidential Initiative on Poverty and Hunger Reduction. I'm particularly happy that this launch is taking place here barely 3 months after my ascending to the presidency and just a month after launching the Presidential Initiative on Maternal Health. I would like to take this opportunity to ask the committee, Professor Kalua, and all members to stand up wherever they are. Oh, thank you, Professor. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my government recognizes that sustainable economic growth is key to poverty reduction and improvement in the living standards of Malawians. Poverty and hunger are logically linked in that poverty threatens access to basic needs, including food. Extreme poverty is defined as the inability to meet basic minimum food requirements based on monthly cost of a food basket. Eradicating extreme poverty and hunger is the first of the 8 Millennium Development Goals. The country has made progress on all its targets and is on track to attain 5 of the 8 MDGs targets by the year 2015. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is pleasing to note that on eradicating extreme poverty and hunger, the poverty headcount has declined from 50% in 2005 to 39% in 2010, while in the proportion of population below the minimum level of dietary energy requirement has decreased from 22% in 2005 to 15% in 2009. Although the economic growth rate has averaged over 6% in the recent years, this has not translated into creation of jobs with decent incomes. Consequently, there has been minimal impact on poverty reduction. Despite these achievements, poverty and hunger still remains among the major challenges for our country. For an average household, food costs account for 58% of total expenditure. And what is even more alarming is that over 70% of this is on one commodity, namely maize. You may wish to note that any level of poverty and hunger is neither acceptable nor desirable. The eradication of poverty has win-win effects. The welfare of the once poor will be improved. Businesses will prosper. The government revenue base will widen and better services provided. It is therefore the wish of my government to see that poverty and hunger, especially among the marginalized, is reduced and possibly eradicated. Although some progress has also been made on gender equality and empowerment of women, there is a long way to go if the battle against poverty and hunger is to be won. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, currently it is estimated that more than 1 in 4 Africans is undernourished, and food insecurity is pervasive. According to the United Nations, building a food-secure future for all Africans requires focus and action in critical areas ranging from increasing the productivity of smallholder farmers to advancing nutrition among children, building resilient communities and sustainable food systems, and empowering women and the rural poor. Achieving food security under a changing climate requires substantial increases in food production on the one hand, as well as improved access to adequate and nutritious food and capabilities to cope with the risks posed by climate change on the other hand. Community-based development processes need to be fostered in order to enable the poorest and most vulnerable to build sustainable and climate-resilient livelihoods and move out of chronic poverty and food security. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, more productive agriculture will not only build food security by increasing food availability and lowering food prices, thus improving access, but also can raise the incomes of millions of smallholder farmers, elevating living standards and improving health and education, thus expanding people's capabilities. Under the Presidential Initiative on Poverty and Hunger Reduction, my government will focus on promoting women's empowerment, improving agricultural productivity for smallholder farmers, promoting agricultural diversification and access to markets, and promotion of irrigation farming. Women make up almost half the agricultural labor force in developing countries, and in Malawi, women constitute over 70% of the agricultural labor. Yet they have less control over land, poor access to agricultural inputs and finance than men have. As a result, yields from women farmers can be lower than those of men by a quarter, and in some countries by even more. Evidence suggests that in situations where women receive equal inputs, the gap will close completely. This makes women's empowerment critical for lifting smallholder productivity in Africa and Malawi in particular. Achieving food security in sub-Saharan Africa, including Malawi, will remain out of reach for so long as the rural poor, and especially women who play a major role in food production, do not have more control over their own lives. The battle against poverty and hunger will remain, but a dream if the marginalized groups, including women, the youth, those with disabilities, and the aged, are not empowered. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, experience has taught me that when women and other vulnerable groups are involved in making decisions affecting their lives and livelihoods, their capacity to produce, trade, and use food is materially enhanced. On the other hand, when women have less say in decision-making than men, nutrition suffers, household food security deteriorates, and access to healthcare lags. When women have more influence on household choices, child nutrition often prospers. Well-nourished people are more productive and more receptive to learning. Empowering women is a highly efficient way to achieve progress across the multiple dimensions of food security. Women's empowerment shall remain a central policy priority of my government because equality and non-discrimination are of intrinsic value. As human rights, women's rights deserve to be promoted. Improving agriculture productivity. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in addition to women's empowerment, measures should be taken to boost the agricultural productivity of smallholder farmers. Over the past years, production increases have come from expanding cultivated land area, not from making farming more efficient. Considering that the scope for further area expansion is not there or is diminishing, it is imperative that farmers now produce more crops for each unit of land with the help of modern technology. Productivity increases will generate farm employment, decent wages, including those for unskilled labor, and income for rural communities. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my government is aware that boosting productivity requires more fertilizers and seeds, stronger research and development, and a more coordinated and responsive extension system staffed by experts. In addition, my government will also focus more on activities on sustainable land and water management in order to increase productivity. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to promote improved productivity among smallholder farmers, my government will continue implementing farm input subsidy program. As indicated earlier, in the coming year, the number of beneficiaries has increased from 1.4 million farm families to 1.5 farm families. The price per 50 kg bag of fertilizer will remain 500 kwacha. In addition to fertilizers, maize and legume seeds will be distributed to smallholder farmers across the country. For the past few years, new export crops have emerged. These include cotton, coffee, pulses, and rice. Other crops with great potential for enhancing incomes, food and nutrition security, and exports include legumes such as groundnuts, sugar beans, soya beans, and pigeon peas. Although these crops have potential to increase the country's export base, the scale at which they are produced is minimal. In addition to crops, livestock, fish, and their products could also be exported to other countries within and outside the region in larger volumes. Maize is grown by over 70% of households and also accounts for over 70% of cultivated land. Labor and land resources need to be diversified out of maize into higher value crops and out of agriculture into value-adding activities. This can be done through promotion of small and medium enterprises. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is why my government, under the Presidential Initiative on Poverty and Hunger Reduction, will promote agricultural diversification as one way of ensuring improved food and nutrition security, increased incomes for smallholder farmers, improving the export base, and promoting SMEs. It is in this respect that my government has set up the Presidential Initiative on Poverty and Hunger Reduction. Under the initiative, a total of 1.5 billion kwacha has been earmarked for the promotion of special crops such as soya beans, pigeon peas, sugar beans, groundnuts, and rice. The objective is to upscale production of these crops mainly for export. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a sum of 900 million kwacha has also been earmarked for the production of small stock and dairy. Promotion of livestock, especially dairy and small stock, will see the country transforming livelihoods of smallholder farmers through increased income and improved nutrition. My government has planned to promote rearing of small stocks through pass-on programs and also promote feed availability for the livestock. To sum it all, investment in these commodities under the presidential initiative will ensure that our agriculture production is well diversified to meet food security, nutrition security, as well as foreign currency requirement. Promotion of irrigation farming. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, climate change poses an unprecedented challenge to the aim of eradicating hunger and poverty. In order to meet the growing demand for food and nutrition security under increasingly difficult climate conditions and in a situation of diminishing resources, my government will promote and intensify irrigation farming, especially for the smallholder farmers. In addition, government will invest in and support the development of more efficient, sustainable, and resilient food production systems. In conclusion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to urge all Malawians, especially women, to take advantage of all the above initiatives. Farm Input Sub-State Presidential Initiative of Special Crops and Livestock Development and Promotion of Irrigation Farming to improve livestock. I would therefore like to encourage all of you to move with me and my government to this war against poverty and hunger. I am aware that eradicating poverty and hunger through lifting productivity, improving nutrition, building resilience, and empowering women requires coordinated action across disciplines and sectors. It is for this reason that I would like to request all government agents, both central and local, civil society, development partners, and the private sector to join hands to work together in eradicating poverty and hunger. Before I conclude my speech, I wish to extend a special appeal to all Malawians from all walks of life. This is a time for hard work. Our country is facing serious economic challenges. However, I have every hope that with hard work, we shall overcome. We need to work hard in our groundnuts and maize fields. We need to work hard as we tend our dairy animals. We need to work hard as we sell our tomatoes and fish. We need to work hard as we minister our folks. We need to work hard in our offices, in classrooms, in hospitals, in the banks, in the security services, and everywhere. Together, we'll make our economy grow. This is the time for commitment and personal sacrifice. Let us unite. We can do it with our Lord's blessings. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, with these remarks, allow me to speak in Chichewa.